Business. Shout out to the whole Who That Nation. Now who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. I say who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. Oh, who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. I say who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. You got that fever? Yeah, yeah, that fever for the flavor. Got that flavor? Yeah, yeah, that flavor for the funk. You got that fever? Yeah, yeah, that fever for the flavor. Got that flavor? Yeah, yeah, that flavor for the funk. I got that fever, my people. See, we not equal, my people. I'm like that dog Saint underneath the steeple, my people. Got Drew Brees, he the feature, and our defense the sequel. The D-line and linebackers, man, they coming to reach ya. Make enemies some believers, cause we overachievers. DBC 50-50 balls and we call them keepers. Y'all can follow this leader, cause Sean Payton will teach ya.
Saints Talk listeners, what's up? We back. It's another episode of Saints Talk. I'm Kevin Washington. I'm here with Nick Underhill. Nick, who are the sponsors? We not here to play tonight, bro.
Yo, so I mean, the first thing though, I'm listening to the song coming in. Like, I think we need a new song first of all.
Oh man, hey PAT.
Like we got a Breeze reference in there. We got a Payton.
Yeah, we got to get that up out of here. Yeah, I mean, all respect to the legends, but it's a new day, man. It's a new day.
We might have to get Bun to make a song for us, man.
Oh, bro, we just, you know what, Bun will do it.
I'll definitely do it.
Bun will do it.
Yeah.
Bun will do it.
All right, so the sponsors, first of all, check out our guys at Firehouse Subs on Veterans Boulevard. Great people, do great things for the community. Check them out. Go eat a sub. Eat. Stress eat. Do whatever you got to do. Buy them up. Whatever you got to do. And of course, the main sponsor, the man that keeps the show running, that puts the the big bucks behind it because he's saving bucks for everybody else. Are you a business owner needing some guidance with your daily accounting? Daniel Sant CPA can help get your finances in order. They provide relevant accounting information, detailed analysis, and clear communication in a timely manner. SantCPA.com or call today 318-321-2765. That's 318-321-2765.
All right.
And Sant does personal finances too, so not just business owners. So just hit them up.
Yeah. I joked through the little sponsor thing, but shout out to our sponsors. We appreciate it. I was texting Sant this past week, and man, funny dude, good dude, man. He'll take care of you. So if you need to get your taxes looked at, I just recommended somebody to him, and anybody else who needs some help with that type of stuff, that's the plug, man. So holla at Sant. All right, Nick. Big moment for you today, bro. Let's start there. Everybody was like sad about Coach Payton leaving, and I tweeted out, I was like, my dog broke the story, right? So I'm getting all these replies. Like, this one dude posted a gif of this kid on the swing back and forth while there was a fire behind him. It was hilarious. Congratulations, bro. Listen, listen. You might try to take this out the pod. I don't care. I edit it. I'm gonna put it back in. You broke it, man. That's a crazy story. You don't. I mean, that's usually like Schefter, Ian. Forget them dudes, man.
Sign up for the show. Sign up for the website, NewOrleans.Football /subscribe. Just sign up. You listen.
You're not playing, man.
Sign up.
Nick ain't playing, and I'm making sure you don't play.
If you listening, just sign up. If you ain't signed up, sign up. We need you. It all runs off you guys. The people that are supporting, eternally grateful to them, and you guys that aren't, one day you will be, and hopefully that day is today. We would appreciate it, and you would then have our gratitude. But until then, it's cool that you're listening.
Hey, listen, what's up, man?
We appreciate everybody. But yeah, no, if you can do it, do it.
And listen, man, if you're gonna talk about this, you're gonna write an article about this, credit who broke the story. That's all I'm saying, man. That's not directed at anybody, anyone, or anything. I'm just
what, man? I used to get mad about that stuff for real.
No, you don't. That's why I'm here. You ain't got to do it no more.
No, but I used to get mad about that stuff for real, like, because, like, you used to want like a different job or a bigger job. But like I said this before on here, like, I don't care, man. Like, go credit whoever you want. Like, the people here know who broke it, and the people here are the only people that exist in my purview anymore. We're not trying to get hired by NFL Network or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't care. Like, credit whoever. They can act like we aren't here, but people know we're here. And
Here's
that's
the
all that
thing:
matters. I
if
ain't
someone,
looking for industry respect. I'm just looking for the city's respect, man, and that's it.
oh
And we
look,
got
man,
that.
here we go,
And
here we go, here we
but I'm
go.
just saying that's it, though.
That's
I don't
real.
care
That's
about
real.
nobody else.
I'm real.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you. But if someone else start breaking a bunch of stories, I'm coming at your neck. Like what you doing? You slipping? So, so if I'm gonna come at your neck, I gotta have your back. That's all I'm saying, man. I already gotta come and put the hands on somebody who broke the window. Like you know. And let me tell you how
Mm.
crazy this day has been, y'all. Like Nick will tell me about if he tightened the screw in his house. Like we talk about everything. My man didn't even tell me about what happened with the with the glass door. That's how crazy the day been. So yeah, we're gonna get the window worked out and we're gonna get this coaching situation worked out because Sean Payton ain't the coach no more for the Saints.
Mm.
I'm not even going to throw you a lob because sometimes with a lob you got to put it in the front of the room, the side of the room, the back of the room, and that'll kind of dictate the dunk. No, I'm just gonna give it to you half court, man. Run with it. Your take. First thing that come to mind. Floor is yours. I ain't got nothing to say. I'm just listening here like everybody else in chat. Let's go.
First thing that comes to mind, I mean, I think the thing with Sean is that Sean provided a level of relevancy that wasn't ever going to be messed with. Like it was
Yeah.
there. You knew the floor. The floor was, 7-9 at worst. I don't think it would have ever dipped below there. I don't think it was possible for Sean to be worse than that. But beyond that, like he was just he's somebody that was the face of the franchise, and he, like I said, he just always ensured that the team was going to be interesting. It was going to be relevant. They were going to play well, and I think the standard slipped a little bit this year offensively. Absolutely, 100%. And
Yeah.
you felt, I think, the difficulties of the season because of just at such a high level that they operated at for such a long time. And I
Yeah.
think his impact on the game is unquestionable. And then over time, I think it's kind of maybe gotten lost on how much innovation he brought about to modern NFL passing offenses, and
Yeah.
just something even like the Jimmy Graham battle. Just the way they used him was different enough at the time that it was something that could be arbitrated
In
and be a
court.
battle.
Yeah,
And,
for
and
real.
now that's just how tight ends play. Everybody plays like that. And
Yeah.
slot receivers before Marcus Colston came along, those were little guys, and they weren't even really used much. But the teams that use them were little guys, and you never put your big receiver in the slot. Keyshawn got a couple snaps in there, but not the way that Colston did. And he brought about the idea of playing big players in the slot, the way they did their personnel. Gruden did a little bit of it. Peyton took it to the next level, and it looked like a fire drill on every play. And early on, it was nuts, and it was basically like playing a no huddle offense because defenses just weren't used to keeping up with that stuff. Then over time, it kind of became normal, and now everybody does that. But Sean's 3-level passing attacks, it turned
Yeah,
average
man.
guys and the huge players that put up big numbers, and we're elevated to a level that they probably should have never really gotten to. And
Mhm.
that was Sean's offense. And I think not being able to see that anymore. Maybe Pete remains the offensive coordinator if DA is the head coach, but it's gonna be different. And it's just it's a significant end of something. Like there is the pre-Sean Payton Saints, and then there's the Sean Payton Saints, and it
Yeah.
almost feels like
Yeah.
it's like the Old Testament and the New Testament to an extent. And it's just the Old Testament, you look at it, you read it, and it just feels like so harsh and outdated, and it's hard to believe that that was ever compared to the new thing. And it's a much kinder history, and you're moving into it to a new place now, and that's crazy. And I don't think there's a lot of coaches, and a lot of coaches don't even stick around long enough for this to happen. But
Yeah.
Sean imprinted on this city in a way that he's forever synonymous with everything here. And it's been talked about so much, like what it meant post Katrina and all that stuff, and just the kind of the gamble they took on him and he took on the city and the franchise and all that. I mean, it's just a symbiotic relationship, and it'll never be the same. Like you'll never have anybody like Sean Payton in the coaching history again. The odds of that next person lasting 16 years is probably zero. And the odds of anybody even in franchise history lasting 16 years again is probably zero. I mean, it was kind of like a one-time, once in a lifetime thing, and that's over. And he was the perfect person for the time. And there's no question about that. And through all the disappointments and all that stuff, like I don't think anybody, you know, he he was as good as it gets, and it's going to be tough to see something different. I mean, because Saints football was just defined by that man's mind, and it's going to be somebody else's mind now. And even if it's Pete calling the plays or whatever, it's going to be different. And um, it was just an amazing era, and I'm appreciative to have been witness to whatever part of it I was witness to, and um, watching him and Sean do their thing it's been a privilege, honestly. And it's crazy. Like, if you really look at, man, the last few years, it's nuts. Like Tom Benson, Sean Payton, Drew Brees, gone, gone, gone.
And
And
that's real.
it's
Yeah.
just, it's a completely different franchise than it was 6, 7 years ago. I mean, it's just, absolutely been turned on its head. And now they enter this new thing, and I think they got the right people to make the right decisions. It's a well-run team. I think Sean being around demanded a standard on just how it was run, and maybe they would have found their way there. But I think he helped elevate everything about this franchise, and kind of showed them this is the way on the football side. And I think that fed into everything else. And because of that, I have a lot of faith that they'll get this right. I think there's a very obvious decision, by putting DA in there. You still make sure, but I think that's kind of where it should go. And I don't think that there should be too much overthinking on that. But yeah, just a legendary run, man.
Yeah, no. Well said, man. I'll quote the great Benny the Butcher. They said I'm gonna be a legend then, I'm a legend now.
Yeah, no question.
Instant coach. He's gonna be talked about, in the Hall of Fame. I'm not here to get into if he gets in or not, but he's someone that he would at least, he would come up in consideration. I'll be quick about it. I mean, I've been a Saints fan pretty much my whole life. You guys know that I've spoken about it a couple of times here on the pod, and you just said it as well as I could. There is a before Sean Payton and there's an after Sean Payton, and it is very different when you look on one side of that coin and you look on the other side of that coin. One side is a lot of darkness, other side it's a bunch of non-darkness, right? And so, yeah, just coming from that perspective, you just appreciate how much fun he made the team to watch. And it just seems like it was always something going on with the Saints. Like they're just one of those franchises, like they always in the news. He just made the team interesting, and he brought the team success, and he brought a Super Bowl in New Orleans, right? Pigs have flown, right? I mean, we all know the Jim Henderson quote after they kicked the Super Bowl against Minnesota. So, he did what some people thought was impossible, right? I mean, the Saints, I won't repeat it, but there was a nickname they used to be for the Saints, and that you can't say that no more. They're considered one of the best run teams in the NFL, consistently one of the best teams. They've had some of the best offenses, and currently they have one of the best defenses. So, yeah, just shout out to Sean. Shout out to everything he's done. I can tell how much he means to this city and this fan base, because today I did the impossible and I jumped on my timeline, which I rarely do, and there was no slander. Like usually you find like, and I knew for the most part people would love Sean, but it was like zero. I didn't see one tweet. Somebody making jokes, but not nothing serious. And so, yeah, just shout out to what he did. He's earned his retirement, and listen, the Saints won't be where they are without him. And I think, that's how people always think about him. With that said,
It'd be kind of ridiculous, to be slandering him or
oh
anything like
yeah,
that. Like I know over the last few years, like people kind of got a little brash with some of the talk about play calling and stuff like that. But I mean, there's really no basis to any of that. I mean, the team
yeah,
was
it's
just
just
bad. They just had bad
entertaining.
personnel. Bad personnel is his fault, obviously. I mean, he should have built his offense better. But I mean, the play calling and all that, that's just people talking. But I mean, at the end of it, like, to be at him for anything that happened during his 16 years as head coach, like, the slander him would have been nuts. Like, he was an amazing head coach, and
Yeah, easily.
18 they should have got the title that got taken from him. There were other opportunities, like, but he kept them, like I said at the beginning, like, more relevant than anybody really in the league over that span. And yeah, I mean, the 7 and 9 years happened. And again, I think that stuff's on him. And I think if Sean was being honest, like he'd admit that he let his foot off the gas in 14 and that kind of, led to some stuff. And, but overall, I mean, he did a really good job. And there's really no reason to be at him. And this team just had the pleasure of having one of the best coaches in this era of football at their helm. And I mean, look, there's not a lot of hires that work out, and there's even fewer that work out to last this long and get you a ring and all that stuff. And Sean kind of put it in good perspective today when he started kind of running down the names of people that only have one ring and people that are still trying to get one. And I mean, a lot of these people that are kind of defining football right now, McVay, Shanahan, they don't got one yet, and they're fighting for it to get it. And Andy Reid's only got one. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't get there 2 times, and that's a high standard. So, he got one, he brought one here, and he got extremely close to another. He probably should have 2, and that's
2 or 3 or
that's something that 2 at least. So is something that Roger Goodell that's on him, and the guy that he's got back in there officiating the title game this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see who Vinovich puts in the Super Bowl. But that's just kind of
you get him in your side, you definitely are getting through the playoffs. That guy is. I don't know how that continues to happen. I don't be calling for people jobs like that, but like we gotta figure this out. Yeah, apparently I missed some of the slander. Chad is tearing me up like Kevin wasn't in Discord. Kevin didn't jump into Twitter Spaces. But hey man, I was on the timeline for a very limited amount of time, so you guys cut me a little slack here. But so the next guy, right? Because that's the logical. Well, let me just take let's take a step higher, right? I think I'm not sure if there's an article written about it. Man, I don't know why I didn't think to look this up before. I usually do this, but like, just say there's a succession plan, right? When Sean leaves, because I mean, there's been talk before. I'm pretty sure the Saints are not super surprised, right? Because he kind of flirted with this before, and so. Do you think there are any like front office changes with him leaving? Like, does I know it's like, hey, Mickey goes from the general manager to the president because he's.
Let's start here. Let's take it back a little bit. I mean, let's take it back to the thing about him trying to leave before. I mean, it's one of the things that's extremely frustrating is every time like a Sean Payton thing comes up, people are like, oh well, this came up before and he didn't leave then. Because he didn't leave before doesn't mean he didn't try. Like. This guy has tried to leave multiple times. Like this is, like you said, this is not new. That he's talked about this before and not followed through with it. He's tried to find other jobs. He tried to go after the Rams job when I believe McVay got it, and it just didn't work out. Like his stock wasn't there. So those times when these rumors came up before, like there was an effort to get out and go somewhere else. And then I think times got good, and that kind of settled down a little bit. Yeah. But this, like you said, this is not the first time. And I think that they've kind of probably been prepared for it to happen at some point or another. Like it had floated around long enough that at some point it was going to become a realistic thing that actually happened. And obviously this year, and like I mentioned on the other pod, like the talk about Sean, like kind of being at this point started coming up later in the season. So even it getting there now, if I hear something, that's not a surprise to anybody that was sitting over there listening to them talk today. Like they've heard about it long before me. And, so yeah, I don't think anything was a surprise, but yeah, I mean, I do think it's important for people to understand that this is not the first time. And the other times that it doesn't matter now, but the other times that there was talk about it, that stuff was not fabricated. It was extremely real. And it's just, he left, but yeah, I think the succession plan would obviously be, I think, number one, DA. And then look, 2, it'll be interesting to see what they do about the front office, the structure, how things are run, because I think there is an opportunity to kind of look at everything and maybe restructure it a little bit. I don't know that you automatically give the next coach total autonomy over all personnel and everything that Sean kind of had. And it was, there was Jeff was part of that, Mickey was part of it, but Sean was the guy. There's one person that's kind of calling shots, and he's calling shots. And at times I think during the draft, maybe that there's different voices and everything, but I think Sean kind of has that weight in
Yeah.
it's tough to tell him no to anything that he wants. So I think there's a opportunity to maybe look at how some of those things are done. Maybe Ireland's just like super in charge of the draft now. He gets a little bit more control and stuff
If they
over the
made
things.
if they made someone, if they made Mickey like the president, kind of whatever his next step up, who do you think they would make the GM if they
I mean,
went internally?
I think it would be Jeff. I think Kai's in the conversation, of
Yeah, I'm
course.
kind of thinking Kai. I don't know why I'm
I don't
like
think it would
triggered like.
work that way though. I don't. I think it would probably be Ireland.
Mm.
I just kind of feel like it would go that way. And look, I mean, I think
Kai's got a
I,
skill set
I
that is harder to find than Jeff's though, man.
yeah, but I think if you bypass Ireland, I don't know if you keep Ireland.
I mean,
And Ireland was the assistant GM before Kai was. Kai's been in the building longer. I think he had a president role before Jeff, but Jeff has had the GM title first. So I think that puts Jeff a step
assistant GM.
closer.
I
Yeah,
know
he
he
had a
was
piece of that.
assistant GM. Okay, that
Yeah,
does
Kai's
change.
assistant GM too, but that was I think that
Oh,
was
okay.
new to him last year. But I think Kai had a presidential. So I don't, it's interesting, but I think if you bypass Jeff, I don't know if you maintain. I think
And
it
ain't
would be
nobody's
easier to promote Ireland and kind of keep everybody
keep
happy.
Kai and
Yeah,
then
but
keep Jeff.
look, maybe one of the reasons that Mickey's sat in that role and it hasn't changed is to keep everybody kind of happy and in their place. And
Maybe.
I don't want to say in their place, but like happy in the current role that they're in and not creating any type of friction. The other thing too, in Eddie, the guy that works for us, and he brought up a good point today that
Eddie made a
there
good
was
point.
there
Huh?
was a point in time that Sean tried to get his contract written to where he was tied to Mickey, and if Mickey got fired or left, then it would nullify Sean's contract. The NFL vetoed the language, but it was something he
Yeah.
put in there. So I mean, maybe Mickey just sat in that role that he was in because Sean wanted him there, and
Sean
Sean
wanted him
didn't want
there.
that change. Yeah, but I do think for a while that Mickey
Mm.
is operated duties that are above what a GM would do. He's
Yeah,
obviously still
absolutely.
involved in football stuff, but I think his importance to the organization is superseded what
Super
any
high.
other general manager has done. I mean, I think he's more like a president
It's
than.
bigger than football. It's like
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And
he's probably inner circle. Miss B's making decisions about. Yeah, it's like next level. Yeah.
that's the feel I get. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I could see that changing. But look, I think the thing for Ireland though, like if you want to keep Ireland in in a capacity where he's not feeling cold feet or whatever, or wanting to look for something else. I think it is important that he has actual GM. He
But
has the say that a normal GM has, and that it's not like Mickey's a president, but he's still really the GM, and Jeff's only GM in title. I think that if you put Jeff in that role, and you don't want Jeff looking for other interviews and everything, you got to give Jeff actual GM
do you need
duties.
to? Do you need to keep Jeff that happy though? I guess that's the question I have. I mean, like no one's trying to hire
Through
him.
scouting.
I mean,
I think Jeff's importance to this organization
I do
is
too.
clear.
I do
Yeah.
too. I absolutely do too. But I don't. I'm just wondering if you need to, because if you, what is he going to
All it
quit?
takes is one, man.
Yeah. I mean, out of 32, ain't nobody.
He gets interviews though. You get an interview at some point, someone's going to hire you.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
if he
after
has,
that 17 draft, it would seem like, man, if you can't get a,
yeah, I think maybe it was too close to Miami at that point though, and I think you got enough distance now, and you get a track record and everything that maybe it opens up, and he's on the interview circuit. All it takes is one person to say that's my guy, and if he's getting in front of people, you're at risk of losing him. So I
yeah.
think it is important to keep him happy.
I mean, and
If
Kai's
you
not getting
value him
any, and Kai's not getting
yet.
any GM interviews. So I mean, you make a point. I mean, you make a good point. I'm playing devil's advocate here. Obviously, my manager told me to ask the questions that nobody else asks. So I'm practicing on you. But no, I get. I understand. I think preferably you definitely want to keep Jeff here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see if there was some front office shuffling, and even more so to the point that you said about Sean wanting Mickey maybe written in that contract, because like maybe Mickey's like, all right, man, I can move on with this and I can finally step into this next role because let phase 2 kick in of the Saints. So that definitely makes sense. So head coaching wise, It's most likely gonna. I'm guessing it's gonna be DA, right? But like, would that be your if you were like
Yeah.
Nick Lauscher, not Dennis Lauscher, right? Like if it was like, hey man, who you want here, and that's your guy.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you automatically just snap your fingers, or would you like seriously conduct like interviews with other
Well, I'd
guys?
conduct
And
interviews, and I would be comfortable snapping my fingers and doing it, and keeping the coaching staff in place and all that stuff. I mean, they aren't moving on because things are bad. They're moving on because someone just decided they don't want to be a part of it anymore. And
yeah,
it's that simple. And
absolutely.
I think they had a good team, and I think they were well coached, and they succeeded through things that, they probably had no business succeeding through. And I think that's because of the coaching staff. So yeah,
Mhm.
I would make DA head coach. I would make Richard defensive coordinator. I would find another secondary coach, and that's how I would move forward with it. And that's just personally how I'd do it. You know, but yeah, I'd run a search as well though, because a you
So
want to
wait a minute,
a
wait a
you want
minute,
to have
wait
a
a
point of
minute.
comparison. Hold on, no, you want a point of comparison. So if you're bringing people in, you might as well have a point of comparison. But I would run a search mostly for the value of bringing in bright minds across the league, picking their brains, seeing what they thought of my roster, hearing about how they run things, gathering new ideas, taking the intel that they have, and using that information in some capacity that can help me as an organization. So I think there's a value there in just talking to people. And I think that's the most brilliant thing that the Chicago Bears have done, is that they've interviewed literally almost every person in the NFL, and they've gotten a massive amount of insight from the best football minds that are available to accept another job. And I think there's an extreme amount of value in that. So I would run a search for that, but also just to make sure, hey, okay, I'm comfortable hiring DA, but let me make sure that this extremely important decision, the most important decision that we've had to make in 16 years, is the right one, and we aren't acting hastily, because we aren't forced into acting hastily. But I would feel extremely comfortable giving DA that job. We've seen it as people that watch this team, listening to him talk, seeing how he operates, seeing how people grow under him. I would have no qualms at all if they hired DA and talked to nobody else. I believe in his ability to be a head coach. I mean, and that might ultimately end up being, a statement that you know, doesn't look good in time. But right now, with the information that we have, I think it's clear. I mean, I don't really have any doubts in this moment, or reasons to doubt in this moment, DA's ability to be the head coach of this team.
Yeah, so I was trying to cut you off earlier because you said you just blew over Rashard for DC, and I was like
Yeah, I
that
make
would be
I would
your
make
first.
Rashad to DC. Yeah, absolutely.
So you wouldn't look outside for that neither. You wouldn't like
No, in fact, I
maybe.
think you probably got to promote him to keep him, because that's a guy that's not he's not going to be your secondary coach. If he makes it a second season as your secondary coach,
Mhm.
man, that's a blessing. That dude
Yeah,
is overqualified for
to
that
be a
position.
secondary coach.
He's somebody that probably should have been on the head coaching circuit, and things just kind of went sideways for him. But I mean, I think at some point, man, him as a secondary coach is like a coup. Like, it's crazy that he's in that position. And man, you look at what he did. Like, look at how
Yeah.
Adebo went from looking like a raw prospect to being ready week one, to never experiencing any of the ups and downs that rookie cornerbacks go through. Like, he was good on day one, and he was good on, week 18, and there were never variations in his play. I mean, sure, he got beat on a couple deep balls, and by super quick receivers that, and I think that's going to be his issue probably throughout his career, but he continued to get better. You saw Lattimore find more consistency than he's had. You saw CJ, I think, marry his instincts with his sound
He had a
playability,
really
like
good year,
at
man.
a
He
level
had
that you
such a
hadn't
good
seen
year.
before. He improved, like he had tangible improvement. And
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
he had a good
I think
year.
I think all that stuff goes back to him. And I think AG was a great coach. And I just think getting Richard in and having a different point of view, and in his viewpoints and everything, was beneficial for this team at that point. And speaking of AG, I'd interview him. He'd be one of the guys I'd interview, just to,
Looks
you know,
like they already are. Looks like I think Ian Rappaport reported that that's someone that they may be looking at along with
yeah,
DA.
yeah, I think that's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and they gotta satisfy the Rooney Rule. I mean, that's one of the obvious things that it's a coaching search. They don't allow you just to give it to somebody, and he's someone that's been in the building. So, um, you know, But yeah, I was just, like I said, you just said it, and I'm like, okay, well, because that's like when you think of if you bring in DA, now you're creating another hole, right? I mean, that's in defensive coordinator, et cetera. So if you're DA, or what do you think? Like, you think that DA, if for the most part, he's going to keep the same coaching staff, or do you think if
Yeah.
you're DA, you're like, hey man, I got to get in. There's some guys in here I just kind of need to look at, or something along those lines. Like, you know, obviously he's not going to be able to wield the same power that Sean did, because you got to work. You got to earn that, right? But yeah, you think they just kind of run it back with
Well, I think
this.
a lot of guys on defense. I mean, those are his guys. The guys on defense. I mean, and not wanting Rizzy or Ginta in those roles on special teams would be absolutely insane. I mean, they were awesome on special teams. You don't want to rock the boat there. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Rizzy's probably one of the better special teams coach in the NFL. And he had that. He was regarded as such in Miami. So
Yeah, the only person better, I would say, is anybody playing against the Packers. But go ahead.
yeah, going forward, offensively,
That's the big one. Like that's the one, right? The defense is easy. I think the defense side is easy, but like, are they saying, hey man, Pete stays, or like, do you look and say, hey, I think
I bet Pete stays. I bet it stays in place on that side of the ball. And again, I'm not sure that you want to rock it over there. I mean, I think you give it a chance and see what happens, and you go forward from there. But I mean, it's been a really good offensive system for a lot of years. I don't think that you lose faith in it because Jameis Winston and the replacements at receiver didn't get it done. What do you like? Who's running the
nobody gets it
routes? You
done
know
in
what I
that
mean?
situation?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
know
mean,
what I mean?
I've spoken about that. I just don't
Yeah,
think any
Jameis Alvin
quarterback.
and the other guys. Like it's just
Yeah.
I don't think you make those judgments on that. And I think the offensive line is they're extremely well coached, at least from my point of view. When you're losing guys like that, and it's still viable to some degree, and obviously the thing everybody's going to point to quickly is Ruiz. I'm not sure if that's a coaching issue as much as it is just that's the
Oh, yeah,
player.
he's just a player. Yeah,
When
you
you see
can't.
other people improving and getting better, and things kind of stay the same, I'm not sure that that's necessarily all coaching. Rauschar's on tight ends. Tight ends been iffy, but he's proven to be a good coach for a while. He was the offensive line before he was tight ends at some point, I believe. I'm not looking at him funny either. I just don't know if he has the bodies at that position. CJ obviously has done a good job developing receivers for forever. So I
Yeah,
mean,
that's kind of his
I'm not
bag.
trying to get him out of there. Um, who else? Joel Thomas. I mean, Joel Thomas is
Yeah, yeah. I'll be keeping
their
Joel. He
running
was.
backs. They've brought up guys, practice squad players, and that forever. I mean, so I'm not looking at him funny. So I mean, there's really nobody that I'm looking at like these guys clearly because there's enough track record over time. I mean that's kind of the thing with the staff is like there's enough continuity over the years that you see it and there's a track record of success that a little bit of a blip. I'm not tripping over it. So I think you just if you keep DA, I would keep I would keep it in place, honestly. I mean, unless there's a few guys out there that he has to have, okay, cool. If you're the head coach, then that's you. Like you should have the latitude to put together your staff, and that would
Right.
be my thing. If they install DA as the head coach, they need to let DA run his program, let DA install his culture, let DA do his thing, and not have one of these guys on the staff try to be Sean Payton. Because if you're trying to be Sean Payton, like things are gonna you can't. And I think that's the reason that like all the Belichick disciples fail is that they try to be Bill, like, and that doesn't work. You got to run the program as yourself. And I don't think DA would really have those issues. I think he learned, his mistakes in Oakland. He'd come back. He'd
And
probably be
Patricia was even wearing the sweater the same, bro.
yeah, the
He
little
was like,
pencil in the ear, all of
bro,
it,
he
man.
was like, dude, I was like, dog, like it is like way too obvious right now, man. You need to take a step back and like. Anyway, go ahead. I just had to throw that in there.
But that's it though. Like they need to let that guy, if he's a coach, run the program as his program, and that's it. And let him. If there are guys, like again, if there are guys, when you're a head coach, guys go places and they know who they want, right? So like if DA has a few guys, okay, like let them get in the building somehow. I mean it's
I would
just
have to go look at that Raider staff, and I don't even remember what.
yeah.
I don't even. That's a black hole in my mind at this point, to be honest
I would
with you.
strongly suspect that he would want to keep the guys. Like, I don't think there's a reason
Yeah.
to really want to fire anybody.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think a lot of the guys on defense probably are people that he picked out and had say on. And by the way, if you're watching this and listening, you're signed up to the website, sign up, hit the link below. We count on your support. It's,
Yeah, sign
eternal
up for the
gratitude.
website to the guy that broke the story that Sean Payton was stepping away from the Saints.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. What you were saying?
So yeah, that's it. We can go on to the next topic. But yeah, I mean, I just think it would be important if you decide to continue this to allow the head coach to be the head coach and not try to make him be, Sean. It's just not going to work that way.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that, and I think that's kind of like I don't think that's a tough decision, right? It would seem like it's a pretty straightforward. I think the question that I would have is, are they? Is it, it could be like, hey, DA, we want to make you a coach, but we want to keep these guys in place because we like the coaching staff, right? Sometimes, like Jerry Jones did that to Mike McCarthy. Hey, Kellen Moore ain't going nowhere, right? Or is it like, hey, man, it's your team, let us know what you want, or is it just such a mutual understanding that it doesn't ever need to be addressed? Because it would just kind of give you an idea into like how much power they're going to give him, right? And to me, that's interesting, right? Like how much decision making power does he have, right? Can he what's his veto power look like, right? That's always something that when I see a head coach, a team getting a new head coach, that's one of the first things I think about. It's like, all right, is he like, who's above, the head coach or the GM, right? You look at Seattle, it's head coach, GM, right? And et cetera. So that's just a more interesting question, more so than if he's going to keep those guys around.
I would probably make the head coach earn it, right? I kind of feel like that the next guy needs to earn that kind of autonomy, unless you're going out and you're getting somebody that's like super solidified. But I kind of like the structure of it being a little bit more of a collaborative effort, especially when you got people like Jeff up there that they got strong scouting backgrounds and all that. And,
Yeah.
I even expect probably. Michael Parrington's up there, pro personnel guy. I wouldn't be shocked at some point if Ryan Pace finds his way back on the staff in some capacity. So, I think there's just a lot of people where there's a lot of smart individuals around, and that's kind of what they've done, and that's kind of been their thing, is just adding people and getting smart people in the building and finding roles for all of them. And even Richard, like, is a good example. Like, they just got a lot of people around that are overqualified for the jobs they have. But I think that might be one thing that kind of changes a little bit as well going forward. Like, I think Sean's recruiting power on coaching staff and personnel, those are the things that you're going to see be a little bit different going forward. And one of the interesting things he said, and I think it's applicable to now, but not as much to now, but still to a certain degree, is that he said when they got Breeze, they had to take the risk because they weren't winning jump balls. Like, people weren't going to pick the Saints at that time because who's Sean Payton and who are the Saints. I think they won a lot of jump balls over the years because of Sean Payton, because of Drew Brees, because of the success. You pull Breeze out, you pull Payton out. Some of those jump balls might not go the same direction now. So, I mean, that it's going to be interesting just to see how this place is treated by free agents as a destination. If you recruit Russell Wilson, is Russell Wilson still recruiting you? These are the questions that you kind of got to see going forward. And I think that's where some of the impact of not having Sean might be felt a little bit, but it's not going to be anything like 06. I think that there's enough here that people see what it is, that there's assumed success, they know how well the organization's run, all that stuff. So it's not going back in time, but I do think losing Sean changes a little bit of your recruiting power, especially offensively.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, no question. I just to backtrack a little bit, I just want to say, like, I hope they don't. I mean, nothing personally, but I don't want them bringing Ryan Pace back around here. I
think Pace was good at his job.
Man,
Parrington's in it now, so like he would, obviously it wouldn't be the same role.
Yeah, his drafts from Chicago. I mean, I know draft.
He was a pro personnel guy here, so.
Yeah, well, I guess if that's where they keep him in, but yeah, just as long as he's, yeah, and that, like I said, that's just a football point. Like, his drafts have been like, I was looking at Chicago's draft, I think like 3 months ago, and I was like, man, these guys, like, they don't draft well at all. But yeah, regardless, I do. That's, like I said, just the whole structure of the organization, like what guys are going to be, moved around, if that's going to happen. To me, that's like wildly interesting, because I just like seeing team building parts. So if you're DA, right, or if you're Mickey or Loomis or Ryan Pace or whoever's going to be up there at that time, right? Like, what do you do with this team? Like, because you just alluded to it, and it's an outstanding point, is that it's Russ might be looking at the Saints a little bit different now, right? I mean, heck, Jameis we might be like, people went from like, maybe want Jameis, maybe not, to like being like, man, we hope he's willing to come back without Sean, right? Like, just losing like someone that is just that popular and respected offensively around the league. Yeah, it's going to be some people who maybe don't come because they know that system is going to produce for them. So, if you're DA, like, what would you prefer the strategy to be for the team? Like, do you, and I think there's 3 choices here, right? Well, I'll give you 3 because I kind of want to tunnel you into it, but keep going what you got. Try to go hard at a veteran quarterback, and try to win a Super Bowl next year, right? The other end is, hey, let's, maybe we need to drop some bad contracts. Maybe we don't participate in free agency this year. Maybe just re-sign our own guys, keep our own talent, but just, kind of just try to, like, a soft rebuild. And the other option is just kind of something in between, whatever that looks like. So, like,
I keep going for it. I keep going for it the best I can. I think the team's still close. The defense is still going to be an elite level next year, and I still think it's a QB and a couple receivers away from being really good on offense. So that's what I try to do. I don't know. I don't know what a soft rebuild really looks like. I kind of feel like last year would have been maybe evidence of some of that, trying to get by until you're in a position to shop a little bit stronger for some.
That's kind of what I meant. Like, this year, like, maybe just, again, nothing in free agent. Like, say, for instance, I'll look it up.
And
like,
blowing another year of that defense, though, like, it deliberately feels like, man, that would be such a shame. It kind of be like going through 14 and 15, or, well, not 14 wasn't an attempted rebuild year, but it'd be kind of like going through 15 and 16 with Breeze, and just kind of wasting like a core or something that's really special, that's good enough to win a Super Bowl with. So I think you got to put your foot down all the way and try to get there in hope. And also I think if you get there immediately in the post-Payton era, like, you don't lose any of that prestige in that recruiting or anything like that. And it just kind of, it's kind of like going from Urban Meyer to Ryan Day, and it's just kind of seamless, and everything's business as usual, and nothing's wrong, and you remain a premier team, a premier destination, all that stuff. So that would be my approach for it. It'll be interesting though, like, even like, Sean was Jameis's biggest fan, man. Like, he was the guy that really, was really behind Jameis, wanted Jameis around. Is that, I don't see why it would change, but is that still the guy that,
if you're DA, you're a defensive minded guy, defensive minded head coaches, unless you got like a Josh Allen, right? They typically like guys who are like maybe not as risk adverse. So I could see DA maybe looking at Jameis and saying, and listen, Jameis, I have, like, I want no problems. This is just a football point I'm making, where, like, hey, this guy has a history, and we know about the last year he didn't have a lot, but maybe he has a history of turning the ball over. I prefer to have someone that maybe doesn't have that risk factor, because I know my defense is good.
Like, all decisions could be different. Like, just the guy calling the shots now could just have a different perspective, period, like, on anybody. And it's not, it's just, okay, there's 2 guys available. Well, I like this guy better than that guy. And I'm not saying that's going to be the case. They might all still prefer Jameis. Jameis proved that he can avoid making mistakes and all that stuff. And that's all fine and great. But, like, if you're sitting there and saying, like, trade for Jimmy G or Jameis, like, Sean might go one way, DA might go another. I'm just saying that like, some of these things that were assumed paths before, the paths might be different now. And it's just going to be a different, and it could be a whole different coach. So, like, we're talking about DA, like, he already got hired, but just assuming, it is DA, or, if Ireland's making that decision or Mickey's making that decision, Mickey or anybody could have a slightly different perspective on two different things, two different outcomes, and it goes a different way. Where with Sean, I feel like a lot of us were able to kind of predict the exact path that things were going to take because there was a pattern and you kind of knew and people got used to like how Sean thought and everything. And that's all going to be different now. I mean, these are all things that are going to be interesting. And like you said, does Jameis even desire to come back here without Sean Payton? He's going to be playing kind of for his future this year. Does he pick a city with a coach that how things are run with that head coach that already has the structure in place that you aren't hoping it to be built around you with somebody calling plays that you've never heard call plays for you. So it's going to be there's a lot of decisions that people got to make and things that were taken for granted before where it was just kind of like, oh, well, they can just go bring Jameis back. That might not necessarily be an option that exists or is as easy to execute as it would have been before. So I mean, it's gonna be fascinating just to kind of see how all these different kind of things unfold. And losing the guy that literally picked the color of the carpet, that would fight with the marketing team. There's a lot of things top to bottom that that are
It's
gonna be
like
a lot
when he
different.
talked about Drew leaving, he was like, in the quarterback meeting, like, there were certain things that Drew did that the coaches typically would do, right? And then when Drew left, it's like, oh, well, yeah, all right. Well, the quarterback is not doing this. Now this is something that the coaches are going to have to take care of. And so, that's kind of like a little bit, how I see it, where there's like a lot of things that just kind of go into coaching. Like coaching happens between, Monday and Saturday, right? Sunday is kind of it's just like a point in time that we get to see it when we watch football on Sundays. So, I do feel like there's going to be like a lot of little things that, like Peyton did that is not going to be there no more. And then this is going to look a little weird, right? There's going to be things that we wonder like, man, how did this happen? And I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, they don't have a guy in the building that just takes care of that stuff. Like if I was to think of something off the top of my head, I would say, like, say someone think about this, right? I don't know, Traquan Smith, and you run the wrong route, right? Now, Sean is the head coach. You sit when you walk to the sidelines, you gotta look that man in the face, or you know what the look on his face is. You know what I mean? It ain't pretty, right? And everybody talks about that look that Sean has. If it's Pete Carmichael, you might just look him in the face and smile because Pete seemed like the nicest guy in the world. Probably just never hurt anybody in his life, right? So I'm exaggerating here, but I just think it's going to be like a lot of little things like that they're going to have to figure this stuff out as they go, because I don't know if it's like clear.
Man, I heard a story about Sean once that, and look, I don't know if this is, I think it's, I believe it to be true, but like this is attention to detail. Like there was this bucket that they kept Sharpies in the locker room, and he liked a specific number of Sharpies, let's say 36 Sharpies in this bucket every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a guy that was responsible for keeping the Sharpies in the bucket. Like, one day Sean goes in there and there's like 19 Sharpies in there instead of 36. And
oh man,
Sean just murdered this guy, verbally, like as if, he had cost them, if he was the person that missed the Bill Vinovich call, in the 18 championship game. Like that's how seriously he took all these small little details. And look, he talked today about how he loosened up on some of that stuff that wasn't super important, but just that quality on something like that, I think that kind of keeps people at a point where they try to elevate above it and exist in a place where they don't got to hear it, because this guy's going to kill you for messing up details. And so you're going to be on your P's and Q's.
Kind of like you and I was talking about the other day, man. You work for NewOrleans.Football, you feel like you got to walk on the eggshells because you make one little mistake and Nick Underhill or Sue's coming from you, and it ain't pretty, bro.
Hey, man, there's a level. You got to meet the level. That's it. It's just
Glad you
you're
acknowledge
on,
it.
like a guy that pursues something. Though you got to try to meet that level. And I think Sean kind of kept that at a certain place, and that's something that they're gonna have to find too. And if DA is a coach, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think Pete Carmichael will be an excellent leader. Honestly, I do. I mean, I think it's a shame. I think Pete kind of missed his window a little bit to go do something else. And look, I don't know if Pete even pursued any of that stuff hard, but just being in this system, running it for as long as he has, I'm kind of excited to see him get an opportunity to
You
kind of
kind of
put
feel
his own
like he
stamp
should
on
be in
things.
the opportunity. He should get the opportunities that Lombardi got. It's kind of like how I think about it, right?
Well, I
Because
mean, he's
like,
already an OC, so I mean, I don't think you make leave to be an OC somewhere else. But yeah, I hear what you're kind of saying, like interviewing for head coach jobs and
yeah,
things like
well,
that. Yeah.
you know what though, that is always weird to me that like, and I get it, right? Like you don't want to go from OC to OC, but I feel like
Yeah,
that would
no,
have been
see
like
where
a
you're calling plays. Yeah, no,
yeah,
I
yeah.
hear what you're saying.
That's a promotion, man. Like you know what I mean. Like if you're OC that don't call plays, you're not gonna get a head coaching job,
But
right? So like
I think Pete's gonna do a good job, and I'm eager to see him
I'm
call
hopeful
the
for him.
plays, put his
Yeah,
stamp on things,
he
and
deserves it.
be
He
able to
gets
run his
this
own
chance.
offense. Yeah, no, absolutely, and he's been around, one of the best offensive minds in football for you know an
Football
incredibly long
mind
time.
history, yeah, in the
Yeah,
history of the game,
yeah,
absolutely.
Pete's ready, and Pete doesn't get enough credit for his contributions anyhow.
Mhm.
Like a lot of
Yeah,
this stuff that they find, like these studying plays. Like I remember I wrote the story about this play in 18. It was like a tackle over play they stole from somebody else, and they ran it, and they found this play like in the middle of the night. Like Pete was the dude that finds that stuff. Like that's him.
yeah,
He's finding these wrinkles. He's finding a lot of the stuff they do that they're just gutting people with, studying that film forever.
yeah,
That's Pete. So I think Pete can handle it. Not I think he can. I think he's ready for the opportunity
yeah, and I'm happy for him because he's been doing it for a
if
while.
he
He's
gets it. Like we're
if he
we're
gets
we're
it,
so
right.
assuming that everything stays in place and it might
You
not.
said
But
DA's the guy, right? So we'll see. But yeah, he is someone that I think he's earned his shot, and we'll see how it happens. And I was talking to someone on Twitter today, and I was saying look, Sean is there's not a there's not many offensive minds that are on the level of Sean Payton, right? He was probably the most brilliant person in 99% of the football rooms that he walked in, right? But offensive game planning, and when that's what it was talking about, I was talking about like missing Sean. I was like, well, play calling is not as I don't want to say complicated because that'd be dumb, but like when it's 2nd and 10, you don't have to look at that whole play sheet. There are a list of plays that you run for 2nd and long, 2nd and short, 2nd and intermediate, right? Like when you're calling the plays, it's not like you got 100 options every time Drew Brees comes to the sidelines. If it's 1st down and 5, they run for 5 yards. Then you look at the section of the playbook that says, or the play sheet for the day, and you look at the 2nd down area, and then you look at the down and distance, right? And so a lot of the play calling that goes into the game, that stuff is predetermined before Sunday. And the conversation was basically like, well, I don't know if it's as much as the play calling that's going to be missed. I think it's more of the game planning, right? I think the game planning is where Sean's brilliance is, because in the game planning is obviously where you choose which plays to run and pick in those situations. And so, and even that is a collaborative process, right? Sean is not like going to sleep on Tuesday night and coming back Wednesday morning after being in the lab all night by himself and giving the game plan out to all the coaches saying, here's what we're doing this week, right? That's not how it works. It's a highly collaborative effort. So, I think he'll be missed.
yeah,
And
no, it would be extremely disrespectful to act like this man ain't going to be missed. He's going to be missed.
yeah,
He's
exactly.
absolutely going to be missed. You just got to hope that he's left enough lessons for the guys that have been around him
Yeah.
basically for the whole ride to kind of pick that up and carry it on and do a good job. I mean, if Pete does get that opportunity, so we're gonna find out. I mean, I think he absolutely has to prove it. I just feel like being around that long, I think he's ready. I think he's probably ready for the job, and I'm
Mm,
excited to see what he does with it. Like I said, but yeah, I think he absolutely has to prove it, and I think obviously something's going to be lost to some degree. I mean,
yeah.
it's just it's impossible not to lose Sean Payton and not have something altered
You didn't get
in
better
some
today.
capacity. Correct. You
You
did
didn't
not
get
get
better
better
today.
today.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, we can talk about like these guys. They've been there. They got the pieces in place. Like the Saints didn't get better today, and so, yeah. I mean, you lost probably the most important person in the organization, right?
Without question.
Yeah, right. And so that's a major hit. But you just hope that he's
Besides
built
the
enough.
owner, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. But yeah, like you just hope that enough has been built, just to the point to where, they can continue to have some level of success after he leaves. Um, one, the, I guess the last thing we can get into, because man, this seems like hold on, D and I'm gonna go place my bets tomorrow. Peyton
Oh, whoops! I
Rose.
didn't mean to put that up. Did you put
Oh
that up, or
yeah.
did I put that up?
No, I didn't do it. My hands are like I'm not typing right now. But yeah, I guess the last thing is like a lot of people. I have some people saying like, "Yo, man, like you think he's gone for good? Is he like?"
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
bro, Sean is
Sean ain't
out
coming
here,
back.
bro. Like Sean is out of here, man. And like, it's not like, oh, I just need to take a step away from football. I want to come back to you guys. Like, no, we said earlier, he tried to leave before. Like, Sean, like, don't ever look back. Like, don't ever look back. You know what I mean? She gone, bro. You know, like the lady left you. You gotta move on, man. And so I've seen it talked about a lot. Like, oh, a year off is just a year off. And I'm like, man, look, and I think Sean Payton is gonna take a year off, and I think year or two max though. 2 is the max. He's gonna be coaching somebody. So I'm just like, get ready for it. He's gonna coach. He's gonna come back to coaching one day, and he's gonna coach a team, and the Saints gonna have to coach against him, and it's gonna be a big storyline. Like all of that stuff is happening, man.
Yeah, no, Sean is not coming back. He's out of here. They aren't going to put somebody in a position for a year and then kick him out of the job in a year and give it back to Sean. No, that's not going to happen. Look, Sean left because he wants new challenges in life. I think he went through it. He talked about it today, all the different things that went on, and a lot of the theories that everybody thought were true just really weren't. Like he said he wasn't worn out by the season.
Yeah,
He wasn't worn out by Ida. And in fact, like, I even brought up, I think, the Ida thing in a couple different places. I don't know if I said it in the pod or where.
Motivate some probably, huh?
But I mean, honestly, like, and we knew it at the time. Sean loved Dallas. And in fact, like, everything I heard at the time is that Sean didn't want to come back when they came back. Like, he wanted to prolong that trip as long as possible. He loved it. And he said that today. And he said this season really didn't wear on him like that. And he said he wasn't burned out. And it was just, I think he was in one place for so long that he just wanted to do something different. And I mean, I guess I understand that, but and you got to give him credit too. He didn't lie about it. He basically told everybody today that he's going to take a little hiatus and then come back and
he pretty much prepared everybody for his next coaching job.
Yeah. So no one can call the man a liar or anything. Like he just didn't want to. He wanted to stop coaching here, take a break, and go coach somewhere else in the future.
That's all that happened, man.
Yeah,
I think if he like took a new job last year, he would be just as energized as maximum energized Sean.
Yeah, look, and I think that it's possible that Sean does something else and really likes doing that thing and doesn't coach again. I mean, I think it's possible. He strikes me as somebody that's intellectually curious enough to try and want to do different things. And there's a possibility that he latches onto one of those things and finds fulfillment in it and just does it forever, like a John Madden or something like that. Even though Madden knew he was done coaching immediately when he was done and never wanted to come back. But I could see Sean settling into something and just absolutely loving it, loving a new challenge and finding that stimulation. But I mean, odds are, if I'm placing bets on anything, it's that he comes back, he coaches somewhere else in a couple of years at some point. And
it's no secret. Certain teams are going to do everything they can in their power. We all know who is. If I had to place my bets right now, if I could go and place a bet on what year Sean, I need to check that. Can I go and place a bet where he's going to be coaching in what year? Because I'm pretty sure I can make some money.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people will probably assume the same thing.
It's a safe assumption, I think, too.
A year from now, if Dallas doesn't succeed the way they want to,
but look,
Dallas's name's all. Everybody's always. We're all going to say Dallas until it's another team, and it might not ever be Dallas. It could end up being one of those other teams, but we're all always going to say it because it's just been the assumed place for a decade now, and. Yeah, I mean,
and that Florio, I mean, man, that Florio story came out today. I mean, that thing. I mean, that was a.
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll
that was a. I mean, he's right. I mean, I was like, man, that's a lot. like I mean, that's a lot, and so it's just. I don't know, man. It's a lot of noise there. I mean, we say it all the time. Like when there's a lot of sometimes when you see a lot of smoke. I mean, it's just. Sometimes it's a fire, man. Sometimes that's like what's really going on. But I mean, we're just speculating. I mean, that's
I hope
fun.
he's calling games. next season, though. I'd like to hear him.
Yeah, we all
like,
be
in
smarter.
a booth. In a booth. Yeah, no, I think he'd be
Yeah,
as good as it gets
definitely.
immediately.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll all be smarter football fans from having Sean Payton like in the booth,
Yeah.
Calling football games, because that guy, just hearing him talk about football sometimes, like I'm like, all right, here's the 5 things I got to go look up now, because he just said something that I haven't heard before, or some formation or something. So yeah. Well, all right, guys. Man, we're gonna call it a pod. We could probably talk another 2 hours about this thing, because I got so many other questions and thoughts and comments and stuff about just this whole situation. But
We'll still sign up for the website, because we'll do the Friday members only pod and talk about this more. So the rest of those stats will be on there, and that's only available to members of NewOrleans.Football. That's NewOrleans.Football /subscribe. Get on there, sign up, get all that, get all the stories, exclusive pods. There was a Sean pod before Sean retired, talking about the possibility of Sean retiring, just exclusive on there. So yeah, make sure you do all that. Links in the show notes, or type in the NewOrleans.Football /subscribe.
we out.